Alright, so back when Realme was hosting the pre-briefing for us reviewers about the Realme 9 Pro Plus, I was genuinely very excited because it seems like a very good package. But then they went ahead and launched the phone for rupees 25,000. Like, seriously? That genuinely left me baffled. Did Realme actually do that? Did they just launch a phone that competes against their own best-selling device in that segment, the Realme GT Master Edition? Like, for real, under rupees 25,000, the GT Master Edition has been the go-to recommendation for so many folks. It looks good, works well, and has a much improved camera performance after all the updates. So why would Realme want to spoil all of that? Well, I decided to take things into my own hand and compare these two phones to see exactly what was Realme thinking. Nonetheless, this is Varun from GTR and you're watching my in-depth comparison of the Realme 9 Pro Plus against the Realme GT Master Edition to see which phone makes more sense for you as a consumer with a price bracket of rupees 25,000. Alright, so in this video, I'll first be talking about the three most standout differences between these two phones, which is the display, the performance, and the cameras. Everything else is, well, pretty much the same. And I will be talking about that at the later part of this video. But yeah, let's just focus on these three parts first, starting off with the display. Now, while they both have a 6.4-inch display, the GT Master Edition has a 120Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of 1000 nits. The 9 Pro Plus, on the other hand, settles for a 90Hz refresh rate and a peak brightness of just 600 nits. Now, while they both have a touch sampling rate of 360Hz, which should aid gamers just fine, for this price point, I genuinely don't understand the compromises in the display of the 9 Pro Plus. I mean, there are phones under rupees 20,000 that offer 120Hz refresh rate AMOLED panel and 600 nits of peak brightness. Seriously, there are LCD panels out there that can go that high. Now, just to be clear, I am not saying that the 9 Pro Plus's display is bad or anything. I am just saying it could be so much more. How much more? I don't need to compare with the competition or anything. The GT ME's display in itself explains what the 9 Pro's display could have been. Now, apart from all of that, sure, they both come with Widevine L1 certification, so content consumption is good. Now, while we're on the topic, the 9 Pro Plus does have a slight edge here thanks to its stereo speakers that do make the overall movie watching experience a tad bit better, but that's about it. Now, I've said it multiple times and I'll say it again. Sure, for day-to-day usage, 90Hz is still fine, but I genuinely don't understand why there's a lack of peak brightness here. I mean, 600 nits is just not fine for an AMOLED panel at this price point. Next up, we have the performance factor. Now, the GT ME comes with a Snapdragon 778 processor, while the 9 Pro Plus features the Dimensity 920 processor. They're both UFS 2.2 based and come with Realme UI. Although the 9 Pro does have the newer Realme UI 3.0 update based on Android 12, while the GT ME is still waiting for its update for the same. Other than that, the software is basically the same. But talking about the performance, the benchmarks will tell you that the GT ME is definitely better than the 9 Pro Plus. You have better CPU and GPU scores, and there is significantly less throttling as well. I mean, the GT ME practically doesn't even throttle. Now, as for games, while BGMI runs at HDR plus Ultra settings or Smooth plus Extreme on both the devices, the performance is slightly better on the GT ME. Now, just to be clear, neither of these devices are your typical gaming phones. However, you can use them to play a game or two for about an hour or so that's fine. And of course, as far as day-to-day performance is concerned, they're both equally good. Multitasking works fine as RAM management is good on both the devices, and there's also the supposedly dynamic RAM feature as well. Speaking of which, you should definitely check out my deep dive video on what this virtual RAM and what the hype around it is and if it's even worth it or not. You can check it out by clicking on the card here or the link down in the description box. Trust me, it's a must watch for you guys. So yeah, long story short, the Realme GT ME has the better display and a better performance. But that is something that we already knew. And probably Realme also knew when they were making this phone. They basically claim that the 9 Pro Plus is famous for its camera. It offers the best camera experience under 25,000. So, is it so? Let's find out. But before that, if you're liking this video so far, please give us a thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed to our channel if you're not already subscribed. All of these videos, like in-depth comparisons, take a lot of effort and your love definitely motivates us quite a lot. Now then, Onto the camera segment. Now on paper, both the phones have the same 8MP ultra-wide and the 2MP macro sensors, while the primary sensor is 64MP on the GT Master Edition and 50MP on the 9 Pro Plus. Now up front, the 9 Pro Plus has a 16MP selfie sensor, while the Master Edition features double the pixels. Now of course, we've come to know that these numbers don't really matter at all. In reality, the factors that really do make a difference are the lens quality, the ISP that does all the processing, and the software algorithms used by the phone to actually perform all those processing. So, which phone actually performs better? Well, in daylight shots, both the phones are actually performing neck to neck. You could show me photos from either device and I wouldn't be able to guess which is which. Now, you don't have to worry about knowing which device is which because we leave a direct download link to all of the camera samples taken straight from these phones so you can download them, analyze those shots for yourself. See, we at Guiding Tech don't do any sort of sponsored content for reviews or comparisons. So whatever you're seeing right now is my pure, unbiased analysis. Now coming back to the shots, for the most part, they're pretty much at par. Except that there are some differences. You see, when the HDR works, both the shots are good. But the 9 Pro Plus's camera is buggy, especially in the HDR department. As such, you see mostly overexposed shots like these. In fact, for that specific shot, I actually took a screen recording of when I was trying to capture the moment, and no matter what I did, whether it was turning off the HDR or not, or just tapping and focusing on the subject, the end result was always overexposed. Now, the good part here is that the 9 Pro Plus's camera excels in pretty much every other department. For human shots, the skin tones are much better highlighted here while preserving the backgrounds, and there are good details too. For selfies as well, the 9 Pro Plus's contrasty shot easily will get more fans over the GT ME's rather washed out images. Now I know a lot of you guys might be wondering about the OIS camera here and how that works and whether it actually is a good feature or a gimmicky marketing term. Well, for that I had a specific meeting with the Realme team to talk in detail about how that thing functions. Now, remember how I highlighted those three factors that basically determine a camera's performance in a smartphone? Well, with the 9 Pro Plus, the Dimensity 920 processor is the bottleneck here, which is why you do not see any sort of stabilization on 4K footage. However, when you're recording in 1080p, the 9 Pro Plus shoots some really good and very stable footage. Like, take a look. Recording 1080p 60 FPS footage from the Realme 9 Pro Plus, which is on my right side, and the Realme GT Master Edition, which is on my left side. Already you can see that with EIS, the left side is, like the left phone is cropping a lot of the frame. I'll take the phones up, and yeah. Now, in terms of stability, well, they're pretty much at par. It's not like the GT ME is bad, although it's quite evident that the 9 Pro Plus is doing a much better job here thanks to OIS. So not only does it have more stabilization, it also does offer all of that while having a wider frame. I mean, just look at the car right now. The GT ME is so much cropped in right now, and the 9 Pro Plus you get a much wider frame. Having the camera around, I think they're both equally good in terms of colors. There's not much to separate here. As for the HDR as well, you can get an idea here how the HDR performance works. So yeah, I mean, in terms of colors and everything, they're both comparable, but yeah, the factor of OIS does come in handy where you get a wider frame as well. Alright, now this video is being recording 1080p 30 fps footage, but the GT ME turned on with an ultra max stability mode. Now what you will notice is that while it appears that the 9 Pro Plus is more cropped in, the reality is that the GT ME is actually using the ultra wide sensor to record this footage. So as a result, while the GT ME should try and look more stable, it still does not match up to the OIS quality of the 9 Pro Plus. More importantly, the GT ME also loses out on a lot of details since it is now using the 8MP ultra wide sensor. As of the color quality, I think the color science is still pretty much at par, although as you can notice at the buildings over there, the HDR on the GT ME does take a toll, so there is that factor as well. However, the biggest advantage of having an OIS camera sensor, especially in this price segment, is the fact that your photography results, especially in night mode shots, are so much better. Because the sensor is so much stable in comparison to a standard sensor, the phone is able to cancel out all the hand movements and slight jerks, thus resulting in a much better shot. As you can see, even without the night mode turned on, the 9 Pro Plus excels against the GT Master Edition. And with the night mode on, it's on a whole different level. For instance, see the shot of the two cans. Now notice how even in the normal mode, the text is easily readable on the 9 Pro Plus. And when you turn on the night mode, it's just super crisp, while the GT ME is struggling to handle my hand jerks at the time of shooting. So yeah, all in all, the 9 Pro Plus definitely has a massive camera advantage over the GT ME. I mean, sure, the HDR performance is buggy, but I expect that to be fixed in a software update. I mean, let's be honest, the GT ME had one of the worst cameras when it was launched, but with so many frequent updates, Realme has managed to make the GT ME's camera not only capable, but one of the best in its price segment. So yeah, I expect the same to happen with the 9 Pro Plus as well. Okay, so those were the three major parts. Now let's talk about the other things. First up, the design. Now, like I've always said, design is always going to be subjective, but I'm going to try and simplify things here. They both feel excellent in hand, and they're both lightweight and ergonomic devices. Now, if you want a more flauntable design, the 9 Pro Plus is your friend. And if you want a more professional looking device, the GT ME is the one to go with. Now, one thing to note is that the 9 Pro Plus offers Gorilla Glass 5 protection, while the Master Edition comes with Dragon Trail protection. At the end of the day, however, regardless of which device you pick, just use a case and a good tempered glass, because those protections don't really matter when your phone is going to fall down on concrete. Then there's the battery. It's a 4300 mAh battery against a 4500 mAh battery. The GT ME charges faster thanks to a 65 watt charger and a smaller capacity, but honestly, it's just a difference of a couple of minutes. And the same can be said for the battery backup as well. The 9 Pro will last a bit longer, but we're talking about a difference of just 20-25 minutes here and there. So yeah, in terms of battery, they're pretty much the same. No complaints there. So this brings us to the prices. The 9 Pro Plus starts at Rs 25,000 and goes all the way up to 29,000. The GT Master Edition, on the other hand, starts at Rs 26,000 and goes all the way up to 30,000. Now, while that does make the GT ME sound like it's 1 grand more expensive as compared to the 9 Pro Plus, in reality, the GT ME is constantly going on sales here and there. I mean, in India, we have so many festivals that there's a sale almost every other month, and this thing can go for as low as 22 grand. And if you add a card offer to that, then maybe as low as 20 grand. So, at the end of the day, which phone to pick? Well, I still feel confident in saying that for the most folks, the GT ME still remains a better phone to pick. I mean, yes, the 9 Pro Plus has a better camera, but that's about it. Sure, if you're enthusiastic about camera performance, then definitely go for the 9 Pro Plus. It already offers a better camera performance than the GT Master Edition, and those HDR bugs will be sorted. But if you're not super enthusiastic about camera performance, the GT ME will offer much better value for money. That is till the time Realme does not discontinue this product, when they realize that this is going to affect this one's sales. So yeah. And well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Varun from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.